didn't plan this, but I did want to talk through something I was talking about with a friend earlier today. So, as any of you who have sat still for 15 seconds with me probably know, I used to work for the Container Store. And it was this sort of weird interlude period of my life. I had had my first child, I was coming back into the workforce, and no one hires people for the job I was doing before for just a year. And I knew we were moving, but I didn't know where we were going. And I wanted someplace I could learn from. And I frankly adored the Container Store. I had grown up in North Texas, and it was just a familiar staple of my childhood. And when I lived in Miami, I would often go there when I would feel homesick because the people were just so nice. And I'm still friends with many of them, so I really enjoyed my time there. So that's the background. So what I want to talk about today is how the way we talk about things, how the way we talk about our values actually drives our employees' behavior. And I'm going to use the Container Store as an example. And I'm actually going to contrast the way they talked about their values when I was there with the way they talk about one of them now. So the Container Store has these 12 foundation principles, and you learn them and you integrate them into the way you think about work because they are talked about in every single thing you do every single day. I mean, your performance evaluations, the way you talk about the setup of the store that day, the way you talk about your plans, the way you talk about the way you take care of customers. And so it was this experience where I was working for a company that called itself values driven, that actually was values driven. And so I had this experience where they got it right in retail, which is a tremendously well-known terrible sector of the economy. No one wants to work in retail. I shouldn't say no one. A lot of people don't like working in retail. And so I saw this and it was incredible. So here's my example. So the way the selling philosophy, actually, I'm going to back up. You're not getting my example yet. Every retail organization I've ever been exposed to has some kind of selling philosophy. When I was fresh out of high school, I worked at Express for like 6 months. And their selling philosophy was 5 in the bag. And so the whole idea was that you had done your job if a customer left and they had 5 items in their bag. It's fine, a little selfish, right? It doesn't really talk about like what the customer gets out of it, but okay, you understand what your job is. Fine. The way the Container Store framed their selling philosophy when I was there, and this was back in 2012. It was before they sold, before they went public, before a lot of things started going wrong for the company. The way that selling philosophy was explained, they called it man in the desert selling. And the entire idea was that you were supposed to imagine that you had an oasis in the middle of the desert. And a man stumbles into your oasis and he asks you for water. Of course, you're going to give the man water, right? You're going to take care of the need he has expressed to you, but he's going to have other needs. He's also going to need a shower and a change of clothes and some aloe to take care of his sunburn and a phone to call his family. So you're going to meet the need he came in saying, but you're also going to meet his other needs. And the thing that struck me about this selling philosophy is how grounded in service it was. It wasn't about what the Container Store could get out of the customer. It was about how you could serve the customer. And one of the things that Kip and Garrett talked about all the time when we would see videos of them or when they would come visit the store was that you don't, your customers come back when they feel cared for, not when they feel taken advantage of. And contrast that with how often in sales now, oh, Kate, hi, Kate. Hi, Michael. Let's see what do we got over here in chat. Uh, it's funny. I've worked a couple of different retail jobs. One of my earlier jobs in out of high or in high school was at Montgomery Wards, which tells you exactly how old I am because I think they've been defunct for 25 years. And I worked at Express and I worked at the Container Store. The only one of them I ever actually liked working at was the Container Store, and I don't think I would like working there now. And so I'm going to contrast it. The way they talk about that foundation principle now the words they use are, "We sell complete solutions." It's not quite as selfish as 5 in the bag, right? You are, like, leaning into this idea that the solution you are sending the customer home with is a complete solution, but it is also not grounded in the language of care, and that matters because as an employee, if I feel like I'm taking care of people, I am far more motivated to sell to them. If I feel like I am meeting some arbitrary bottom line for some rich person who I don't know, I don't care. And maybe that makes me a terrible retail worker. Probably it does. But I can tell you I was really good at my job at the Container Store, and I was really good at my job because I was in an environment that let me bring my care and my passion to a job that I knew was a temporary placeholder. And so the way we frame our values as an organization says a lot about us as a company. And I'm not saying I will never say that you should lie about your values. Please do not do that. But do think about what the way you frame your values says about what your company values, right? Like I will always be grateful for my time at the Container Store and the opportunity to live in a company that truly embodied what they said they cared about. And so I think through what you see in the values of your company today that you're working at and see where it feels genuine and where it feels like marketing copy that's just there to take advantage of the belief of employees and customers. Anyhow, that's all. It was just a short little life. Thank you all for joining me. And I really appreciate the time. And I hope this was somewhat inspirational and that you had a chance to sort of see why I get so hung up on these ideas. Talk soon.